The final seconds looked chaotic enough to swallow the whole night deflections. Bobbles, a desperate heave tossed into the rafters, until Aaliyah Boston rose above it all and snatched the ball out of the sky. Indiana signaled timeout before Los Angeles could even inhale, and the noise in the building flipped from hopeful to hollow. It felt like the punctuation mark the Fever had been searching for all season, not a slick highlight, but a hard-nosed exclamation of who they are when the margin shrinks to breath and heartbeat. Afterward, Boston said the quiet part out loud. Confidence, trust, next woman up. The words weren't stitched together for effect. They were a field report. Indiana didn't survive this game because everything looked pretty. They survived because everyone who touched the floor acted like their number would be called and stayed ready for the moment when it was. In a season that has asked more from their depth than any coach would willingly admit, Boston put 22 points, 11 rebounds, and a career-high 6 steals on the board, and then sealed the night with the one defensive play you dream about and never forget. She didn't just talk about belief, she enforced it. The ask coming in bordered on unreasonable. 4 guards gone, Caitlin Clark still nursing that stubborn groin, Sophie Cunningham out, Sydney Colson and Ari McDonald unavailable. That's not just ball handling. That's your engine, your voice, your pace. Da-da-da-da. And the opponent wasn't a soft landing. Los Angeles had beaten Indiana 3 straight times, each loss a little more irritating than the last. The standings added an ache, the Fever clinging to 6th, the Sparks lurking too back in 9th. In Indiana's recent slide for losses and 5 putting, are they fading? On every pregame show, then the game started with a gut punch 7-0. Run for LA, and it could have all unraveled right there. Instead, Indiana tightened their laces and dug into something far less glamorous than momentum, possession, by possession, stubbornness. They chased deflections. They hit the floor for loose balls. They squeezed extra points from their own misses. You felt the night shifting not with fireworks, but with friction. Lexi Hole embodied that friction, face still marked from the last game's collision with Gabby Williams' 2 black eyes that drew equal parts. Sympathy and Grinchy played like her vision was 20/10ths. Fights through screens, checks, stunts, recovers, and contests again on the same action, over and over. Admitted the swelling, laughed about the makeup, shrugged off the attention. And then she kept showing up for the unglamorous tasks that buy you time until someone can win it. In a room that needed proof of its own resilience, it was walking evidence. But the hinge of the night belonged to a veteran who wasn't even in the starting 5. Odyssey Sims did not arrive with the headline, she arrived with a pulse. You could feel it the moment she stepped on, a steadiness that didn't depend on the scoreboard. Her history with the Sparks added spice, sure, but this was bigger than revenge. It was a veteran recognizing a storm and taking the wheel. The 3 that settled nerves, the runner that answered a Los Angeles push, the lefty finish in transition, carved from a ripped ball at midcourt. Sims didn't wait to be an option. She declared herself one. Those 21 points weren't loud in the usual way. They were timely. When Kelsey Mitchell hunted for rhythm and found more iron than nylon, Sims slid into the pocket and decided the terms. Push when space appeared, slow when the floor got sticky, keep the team's pulse where it needed to be. With 13.6 seconds left, she found the shot that turns a trip into 2. A story. A quick lift into that soft floater she's banked in 1,000 empty gyms. Clean Indiana up for good. She jogged back like she'd planned it in the first quarter. Later, she put a bow on the night with a line that felt like a thesis. If you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. Coming from Sims, it rang less like a cliche and more like a resume. Up and down, in and out. Hardship contracts, cuts, call-ups, and hands that never left the work. She's been that pro who treats the next chance like the only one. On this night, Indiana needed exactly that person. And then there was Boston, both anchor and metronome. Post seals into easy 2s. High-low touches that looked simple only because she made the decisions before the ball arrived. A jump hook that softened in the air as if it knew how desperately the possession needed points. The blocks you saw, and the rotations you didn't. The 4 assists that kept oxygen flowing through the half-court. And those 6 steals hands. Everywhere reading lanes like sheet music, gambling only when the odds were stacked in her favor. The last of them may be her signature play of the season, a perfectly timed reach with 1.9 left. Ripping away LA's final gasp and replacing it with silence. When the microphones found her, she didn't grandstand. She saluted an idea. Next. Woman up. It sounds tidy on a graphic, but it's messy to live. It means players like Hole swallowing pain and finding purpose. It means aerial powers coming off the bench like an energy drink, punching holes in a defense with quick twitch drives. Enforcing rotations that free everyone else. It means role players expanding their job description on a night's notice and trusting that no one's counting the touches. Only the stops. Head coach Christy Sides called it what it is, selflessness, and you could see the truth of it in the minutes. Depth is just a word until somebody sits, somebody steps forward, nobody blinks. That's why this win mattered beyond the math. Yes, it keeps Indiana in 6th. Yes, it extends the cushion and pushes the Sparks back into the fog. But more than that, it proved the Fever can win the version of games that define late August. Ugly, elastic, decided by extra possessions and loose details. They didn't play their best basketball, they played their sharpest will. There's a difference, and it travels. Hovering over all of it, of course, is the name that rewires the room the moment she laces up. Caitlin Clark is inching back toward the floor. For the first time in what feels like an era, she's in practice. Gear, moving through shooting sessions and light contact sets. Her groin still dictating the pace, but no longer shutting the door. 5 games remain, every one of them a lever on playoff position. Rushing would be reckless. Waiting too long could be fatal to seeding. That is the balance the staff is calibrating. Clipboard in one hand and calendar in the other. Imagine what this particular win looks like with Clark's gravity added back to the equation. Before the injury, she was living near 19-8. Commanding pace and spacing like a veteran conductor, gifting Boston touches and rhythm, and Mitchell shots in stride. Defenses didn't just guard Indiana, they braced for Clark. Bring that back even on a minute's plan and the Fever's ceiling shifts. What they proved in Los Angeles is that they can survive without her. What her return suggests is that they can do more than survive. The locker room speech matched the performance. Pride without delusion.
Ugly.
Hard-fought win, Sides called it. Before hammering the heartbeat, big stops when the pattern frayed. Big buckets when the script failed. Urgency that held through the gray. You could see the nods. You could feel the room understanding that identity isn't a slogan. A habit you can find even on nights when the shot chart looks like static. So this was not a pretty statement. It was a convincing one. Sims reminded everyone that experience is a weapon when you keep it sharp. Boston reminded everyone that stars close both ends. Hull reminded everyone that toughness isn't a tweet, it's 2 black eyes in the same. Defensive stance on the next possession, and the Fever reminded the standings that they're not interested in fading quietly out of view. If you're riding with this group, say it out loud, big Fever win. Drop it in the comments, because this one felt less like an escape and more like a beginning. Like, subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss what comes next. If this is how Indiana finishes games now, just imagine how they'll look when number 22 steps back through the tunnel and into the light.